It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi out there and welcome to the Forum on Eagle Television. The Forum's brought to you by Hayes Med. Good to have you watching along because we have something fun coming up in our community, especially for kids, but I think adults can have fun with that as well. Our guest is Kathy Drabkin with Fort Hays State and the Symphony Orchestra.
That's
you
right.
kind of do a little bit of volunteer work at Fort Hays State to help with the symphony and do all of this.
Right. I play in the symphony as a cellist, but I also serve on the symphony's board as their sort of marketing director with a whole group of volunteers promoting music in our community.
Well, you and I were talking earlier as we went into this that the Hays Symphony Orchestra has been around since 1914.
Yes, one of the oldest symphonies in our state, and it's always been sort of a mixed group where it's been a combination of Fort Hays students and faculty and staff, and then community members as well, sort of a collaborative ensemble.
Well, you think back to 1914, and you and I weren't around at that point. At least I wasn't.
I wasn't.
When you look at that, what was it like back then when you look at, because obviously, you know, instruments were harder to come by.
Right.
And trying to find that sort of, 1914 was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a smaller group. I've seen some old black and white photos in some Fort Hays history, and it was definitely a smaller group. But, you know, violins, violas, trumpets, they all play the same 100 years ago as they do today. So, yeah.
And talented people like to play.
Right.
They like to do that, and I know you're part of that group. I want to talk about something that's coming up first, and we'll kind of come back to talk about the symphony, because I know the Hays Symphony has several things that are coming up. But first off, you have something fun called Firebird.
Right.
What is that all about?
So this is a great event. This is actually the third year that we've done it. This is a children's Halloween concert. So on Sunday, October the 28th at Fort Hays, we will be performing the Firebird Suite, which is a musical composition by Igor Stravinsky. But it's a children's adaptation. So what we've done is we've commissioned a local playwright, Catherine Trishman, and she has written a drama that goes along with the music based on the Firebird folktales that are from Russia. And so there'll be local actors, both adults and kids, and dancers who are going to be performing this sort of drama while the symphony plays the music beforehand, or in at the same time. So
well, that sounds like a lot of fun. When you talk about it kids related, how do you take something kind of that complicated and make it fun for kids? Because a lot of those things get kind of long, and maybe you know, do kids, can they stay interested in that?
They can. First of all, the music that we're doing is only about 25 minutes long, so we take into account that this is a kids audience. And then, of course, we've got this drama going on in front of the music. We've also incorporated a number of pre-concert activities, so kids can come early with their families and get their hands on trumpets and violins and play a flute. We call it our instrument petting zoo. And then we are doing crafts. So we're going to be making Firebird masks, and we are encouraging kids and their families, if they want, to come in their Halloween costumes, and there'll be a grand Halloween parade that goes around the campus before we start the show. So we're sort of incorporating music and theater and story and arts and crafts all into one afternoon of family fun.
Well, this sounds like great, because I know we had family at our house this weekend. We were talking about, what are you going to be for Halloween? What are you going to do? This puts more into it than just let's get dressed up and go get a bucket of candy kind of thing. It does. The program itself. Tell me about Firebird. What's the quick story?
All right, quick synopsis. So this is based on a series of Russian fairy tales, and in this, the setting is the old Russian forest and the magical realm of Koshai the Immortal. Koshai is an evil sorcerer, and he has taken his soul and locked it away in this golden egg and hidden it away so nobody can find it, and he is evil, of course. So he has bewitched all the forest animals and turned them into monsters, and he's captured a bunch of princesses and kept them under his control. So into this magical realm comes Prince Ivan, who is hunting.
He's the good guy.
He's the good guy. Yeah, you gotta have a good guy. So he's a good guy. He's hunting, and his eye is caught by this beautiful, fiery, glowing bird, and so he goes tracing after her and captures her and is going to kill her. I guess hang her as a trophy on, back home. And she convinces him to spare her life in exchange for one of her magical magical feathers, which will allow him one wish. And so he takes the deal, and then he continues his exploration, runs into the bevy of princesses, and of course falls in love with one of them, tries to take her away, and then Koshai refuses and sends his monsters after him, and then he calls the Firebird with his magical wish and is able to defeat the
How fun. And
yeah.
so for kids and having local dance. Now, one of the things, you talk about local people.
Yes.
How
yes.
much work goes into it? If, you know,
Oh,
if
my.
Jordan and I wanted to be dancers in that. Notice the way she laughs about that. If we want, but what would it take for practice to be ready for something like that?
Well, we try to keep it simple so that it's not overwhelming, because we are using young kids in the elementary school age range. So our princesses and our monsters are in the upper elementary school age. They'll be rehearsing all of October, 3 times a week to pull this off. We have our Firebird role is being danced by a 7th grader, Brooke Racky, who's quite accomplished and has won a lot of numerous awards. So she'll be coming in with that background already there. And then we've got a number of people just involved. Our director is Aaron Renard from Russell. Our choreographer is Alyssa Detchant, who runs Styles Dance Studio. Our costumer is the director of theater at Sterling College. So just a number of people who've been brought into the mix. A mix of professionals and total novices. Just
And
having
volunteers like
and
yourself that are out
volunteers,
here doing
I
these
mean,
sort of
40
things.
musicians on stage, so it'll be a quick everybody all together for a lot of fun.
That sounds like one of those things you go on your calendar and circle the 28th if kids are back in town, families back in town. But I'm guessing adults are going to love this just as much as kids.
They are. You know, this music that Stravinsky wrote back in 1910, he originally wrote it for a very long ballet, 2 hours plus. And over the years, the best sections have been pulled out for this suite that we're doing. And it's the time period that he was writing, it was very on the cusp of being modern music, and it's very atmospheric. So in the very beginning, you'll hear the double basses come in with their lowest notes, and very dark and murky, sort of setting the scene for the forest. And then there's shimmering music that sounds sort of like a firebird floating in. And then there's this bombastic music where the firebird causes the monsters to dance uncontrollably so she can defeat them. I mean, there's lots of wonderful music that goes on. So even if a kid thinks they have outgrown fairy tales, they should be there for the music.
So a kid my age could still
That's
enjoy
right.
that just the same way.
That's right. In fact, there's one point in the show that is very famous. It's sort of, you know, in a scary movie, you'll have a jump out scene. Well, there's a one point in the music where that happens, and it's been known to cause people to scream out loud during performances. It's just one of those jump out scenes in the music. So even I, who have listened to the piece numerous times, end up jumping when I hear it. So.
Now, when you practice, and
Yeah.
you're going to be a part of the musicians there, I believe. So when you do that, what does it take for you to prepare for this? You know, as a volunteer jumping in on this, you know, it's not something you do every day. What does it take
Right.
for
Well, a good bit of practice. You know, we get our music 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and I like to have listened to it in advance a number of times. Just listening to music always lets you know where the hard parts are. So sometimes you might practice by the hard parts, and then everything else sort of flows together. So it just sort of, you know.
How fun. Well, it's going to be a great concert. And there's some good news about how you get to go to this concert. Take a break. We're going to come right back, and then we're going to talk about how you can find your way into this great concert on the 28th of October. Back with more after this.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Hi everyone, this is Gerard Welbrock inviting you to join us for Tiger Talk. We record it over the noon hours Mondays at Old Chicago, north of the interstate in Hayes, and play back at 6 o'clock Monday nights on Tiger Radio Mix 103. You can also catch it on Eagle TV's channel 14 and 614, Tuesday and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., and always on HaysPost.com. So join us for Tiger Talk over the noon hour Mondays at Old Chicago.
Welcome back to our forum here on Eagle TV. Our guest is Kathy Drabkin. And just a thought, this is a great program coming up on the 28th of October. If you have any ideas, some things coming up in the future you'd like to get here on the forum, let us know. You can find me at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also go online on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. You can also go to ECTV Forum on Facebook, and leave us a note there. We'd love to have your program, talk about it, talk to your guests, talk about your performers, talk about those things coming up in our community. Again, our guest, Kathy Drabkin, and she is a volunteer working with the Hayes Symphony and coming up with a great program called Firebird that's going to be on the 28th of October. Time of that concert, when is it?
3 o'clock. The pre-concert activities where kids can get their hands on instruments and whatnot.
I like that, the betting zoo for instruments.
Right.
So you can actually put your hands on a clarinet, put
Right,
your hands
absolutely,
on a big
yeah.
cello.
Right. That starts at 2,
Okay.
and then the music starts at 3.
And so it would be over then by 4,
yeah,
4:30?
at the latest.
So it's a
It's-
couple hours of that fun with instruments,
Right.
kids getting them
Arts and
involved.
crafts, and we're even giving away free trick-or-treat bags to the first 300 kids. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, it's a great afternoon, 28th of October. How do you get in? Does it take a ticket? What does it take?
It takes a ticket, but it's a free concert. So we just need the tickets to know who's coming and how many to plan on. You go to haysymphony.org, which is our website, and you just click on the link that shows a beautiful picture of the Firebird that's on our publicity, and register for tickets.
So you
That'll do
register
it.
how many people you're going to have, what you're going to do, and then you're in. Do you get a number or code?
You
or
get you can print them off, or there'll be a list that we have at the show as well.
Now,
So.
you're a volunteer, but somebody has to be helping underwrite this.
Oh, absolutely. We couldn't have done this without the Dane G. Hansen Foundation and the Heartland Community Foundation that gave us a very significant grant to make this possible. We've also had support from the Hayes Symphony Guild, from Keith and Sandra Gottschalk, who are funding the trick-or-treat bags, Redeem Designs, McDonald's. It's just a wonderful...
It's a Hayes community
It's
again.
a Hayes community list of people who step up and make things possible here.
Well, Kathy, thank you for being a volunteer to help
Yeah.
make this happen. It sounds like a wonderful day. If you're in town, if you're close, the 28th of October, 2 o'clock, the fun pregame starts, so to speak, where you get to do the fun stuff, including a mask, right?
Right. A Firebird mask.
A
So,
Firebird
yeah.
mask. So you get one of those. And before the actual concert itself, the show starts at 3 o'clock, will last about a little less than an hour. So fun for kids, fun for adults. Hope you have a chance to be there. Kathy, thanks for being on our
Thank you.
program today. Thanks to you for watching the forum. Here on Eagle Television, it's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.
It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, and welcome to the Forum on Eagle Television. Great to have you watching along. Great to have a local guest here who is an internationally known, top-selling author, and her name is Tammy Lee Schumacher. And Tammy, obviously a Hayes native. Many people know you. They'll recognize your face. They'll recognize your name. They know you grew up in Victoria and are still in Victoria. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Then we want to talk about your book and how that's going. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was a teen mom. I've earned over 200 mom years, raising 5 children, and now have 12 grandchildren. And I know what it takes to really make your life full of joy, even through the toughest times. Right now, I actually grew up in Hayes, and now live on a farm south of Victoria, and been married for 38 years, going on 39 in January, and celebrate life.
I like the way you talk about 200 mom years, because whenever you have a child, that child is yours really forever and ever, and you get to have that. But did you ever, when raising kids, think you'd be writing a book?
Actually, when I was a senior in high school, my English teacher then said she knew that I had a gift of writing. However, being pregnant at 17 in high school, senior in high school, she told me, she said, Tammy, whatever you do, don't ever give up your writing. Yet, being a young mom, being newly married, I didn't know what else to do besides just take care of my family. Mm-hmm. And not knowing we're going to have 5 kids, and I let that go on the back burner until a year ago, 2 years ago.
Well, what started that? What was the trigger for saying, now is the time I need to write a book? What was that trigger point?
Well, I belong to a lot of masterminds. I believe in having a coach and a mentor, and I've done that for the last decade or more. And it'll be 3 minus 8 is what, 5? Mm-hmm. So 5 years ago, in November, I left my marriage. We ended up working it out, but that's also why I wrote this book called The Second Start, Finding Joy in the New You. And I was telling the story of how I left my husband, how we worked it out in a mastermind group. And 2 women, we were sitting down, thank goodness, because 2 of the women said, Tammy, you have to write that book. I never even knew it was a story to be told. And that was so much force that came through them. I knew it was like the message for me. And I said, well, how do you start writing it? How do you write a book that's actually going to help people, that will go out there and do something and not just sit on the shelves, and create a movement, create a difference for people? And right there and then, one of the ladies got me in touch with her. Right there, she took out her phone and says, I'm getting you in contact with my writing coach. And I started working with him, and within less than 12 hours, I was already writing my book.
Well, let's talk about that. When you say it's one thing to just write a book. It's another thing to write a book that other people want to buy a copy of.
Right.
So did your writing coach help with that, or did you just say, here are my ideas, here's what's happened to me, and how do I turn this into something that's a story that is readable for others?
He really did. His name is Les. He's from Canada, and he helped me by chapter. He has a special way of helping to draw out the story from me and put it into sequence of where it belongs, to where there's a flow to my story. And also writing this, it was still so raw, and I wanted to be so real to where, and just lay it out. Because for me, there's no more hiding. One of the things that really irritated me when I would seek help is people would say, oh, Tammy, you got to take care of that elephant in the room. And I'm like, what elephant are you talking about? Nobody would just come out and say, you need to fix your marriage. Until a friend of mine, she's like, or leave. Either fix it or leave. And I didn't know what else to do, because we've tried everything, and I left. And I did not know, Gary, that me leaving was actually the greatest gift I gave to my husband and my family. I had no clue. We realized that later, because that broke old paradigms and shifted us into a new reality and a new opening and awakening within our hearts and our minds.
Now, when you look at this book, and I've been told it's for women, is that true?
Not necessarily.
No, men can read it too.
Yes, they can read it.
But when you do that, is it not every self-help book helps? How does this book make a difference that way? You talk about your experience, but how does that make a difference with others that are reading the book?
Because in almost every chapter, I have simple tips and golden nuggets that people, and mostly women do read it, that's true, that people can apply immediately. For instance, like speaking your truth. And I know it's hard what I have found working with the women I work with is they're too timid to really speak up of what they want. They don't want to rock the boat. Oh, what if he doesn't hear me? What if he, just all these different scenarios of what they come up with. Well, one of the things is I find that too many people, and I was doing this myself, create a non-existent future with their thoughts, which takes them into anxiety, that takes them into the worriness. So I take them through different practices in the book and help them to realize sometimes women have to start talking about what they truly want in the mirror, like to themselves. Are they being truthful with themselves first? Because once we start to be truthful with ourselves, then we can start and speak with ourselves more the right way, the uplifting way, then we can start to speak to our significant other, spouse in my example.
Well, if you look at the copy of the book, Tim's on the front of the book. He looks really happy in this photo too. I assume that during parts of this, it wasn't always that happy. It wasn't always easy to work through. Ends up that way. But now that you're kind of through the rough spot, if you've been married now 38 years.
Yes.
There's probably been rough spots before. Have there been rough spots since you've written the book?
There actually has.
Uh-oh.
So
what happens then?
Well, that's why we still have a coach. We have a relationship coach. If we get a hiccup, we call on Melvin. There's actually even a chapter about Melvin and Sherry and the different things they helped us with. And it was about creating a new relationship. It wasn't about trying to fix the old. It was about creating something new. And that's why the tagline is finding joy in the new you. Like we were finding joy in our new relationship. As simple as like Christmas time. There's some, Tim used to work a full-time job. Now we're blessed that he can work on the farm. But Christmas time was the only time, the month of December, when he would have off. And he'd have to get all of his work done. All these things that he couldn't do during the year. And now that he's not working, I would ask him this December, like when we first got back together, don't do any of that. Can you wait till January? And he agreed. So, but by me speaking that truth, and even if I wasn't sure how he would take it, but just speaking it helped me to become more confident in our relationship and helped him to hear. He actually heard what I wanted. Because in my experience also, Gary, men want to please us. They just don't know how. And women think they should know how. And one of the things I had to do for Tim was I wrote a list of 10 things. 10 things that brings Tammy joy. And in the relationship. And I give him the list. So if he's so busy that his mind is all full of the work stuff or other things, then he can take out the list. And it's simple things. That's one of the things he noticed that he recognized when we were going through our own coaching and our own relationship work. He just looked at me and he says, oh my gosh, you're so easy to please. Like he just for some reason he didn't get that
You
before.
know, in today's world, everything gets complicated. All the input from everything that's
Yes.
around the world, it does get complicated. And I think one of the things you talk about in your book is how to maybe simplify some of those things in a way to do that.
Precisely.
I know you have some things in your book. We want to talk about book sales because you've sold a bunch of the books. I know you're doing some other things. Want to come back and talk with Tammy about what's happening now and what's happening next. Tammy Lee Schumacher is our guest here on the Forum on Eagle Television. Back with more after this.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Hi everyone, this is Gerard Welbrock inviting you to join us for Tiger Talk. We record it over the noon hours, Mondays at Old Chicago, north of the interstate in Hayes, and play back at 6 o'clock Monday nights on Tiger Radio Mix 103. You can also catch it on Eagle TV's channel 14 and 614, Tuesday and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., and always on HayesPost.com. So join us for Tiger Talk over the noon hour Mondays at Old Chicago.
Welcome back to the second half of the Forum on Eagle Television. The Forum is brought to you by Hayes Med. And you know what? If you have a great idea, a program like this, a program you see, there's somebody doing something cool in our area, send me a note. Gary.Shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also find us on Facebook. We're under ECTV Forum, Eagle Community Television, ECTV Forum. We'll look for us there, and you send me a note via Facebook under that address. Our guest, Tammy Lee Schumacher, an internationally #1 bestseller. We just found out. Where do you go to get this book? Let's hold this up. I'll hold it up right here. We'll hold it up right there. Tell us about your book. Where do you go to get it?
You can actually go on Amazon and order it right off of there, or also over at H2O Spa and Massage Place.
It's right over in the Eagle Business Park.
It is.
Yeah, I walk by that place every once in a while. Yeah, see, it has a book there.
Yeah, you can also get the books there. And so local people, you can go there and get them at H2O, or if you want to, you can order them off of Amazon.
Have you been surprised that so many people have purchased your books? I mean, has it been a surprise to you?
It's been more than a surprise. It's not just how many have sold, but the testimonies I get back. I mean, one woman tells me that she feels like her marriage is on a whole new level. She even feels she actually came to me for a coaching session after reading my book, and she feels like she's a new mom, she's a new wife, just after a coaching session and reading my book. And I have other people that are saying, Tammy, I feel like I have my life back. That honestly, it still
really helps
stuns me.
people. And
Yes.
that part comes back to that. So talk about the coaching aspect. You mentioned that in the first part of the program. One, you can buy the book, you can read the book. You and Tim have a coach that you use, but you are also doing some coaching now as well. How does that work? Is just people buy your book and then they find you, or how does that work?
Well, I have a website. It's www.transformintojoy.com. They can either get to me through my website or find me on Facebook. And we do one-on-one sessions, but I also have a mastermind group that sometimes we do group work, because I believe where two or more are gathered, there's divine magic happens. So I do my coaching sessions over the phone, and they're really powerful. They're so powerful. I have had women tell me that they actually, Tammy, I don't know what you did, but whatever you did, I feel like I can fly again. They're soaring in their lives.
Now, how does this work? Do their husbands then or significant others participate in these calls as well, or do you work on the female side of this, of finding the joy themselves and honesty with themselves first
Yes.
before they try to build their
Yes,
relationship back.
because a couple of wonderful things that we've got to do is we got to learn to know ourselves first. We got to take care of ourselves first, because if we don't start doing that first, how can we be even more and better in a relationship? Whether you're married or not. I mean, I know not everybody, like one of my greatest decisions ever in my life was saying yes to my marriage. And I know not everybody can do that. Yet, even if there's a divorce or there's separation, there still needs to be, in my opinion, coaching, mentoring happening. So we can learn, know thyself, and to thine own self be true. And then expressing what it is that we want, what we desire, what we require in order to be all we came here to be.
How far do you travel out of here? Because I know when you get to be an author, you get to travel around. Being local, everybody knows you. You've been here, you grew up here. Have you been doing a little bit of traveling?
I have.
Yeah.
I've been to
Where all have you
California and going into Canada later in October. And
Talking about your book.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going out to Washington. I'm going to be with relatives, but you better believe I'm going to take my book, because you never know. I meet people on the airplane that once we got talking, like, oh, Tammy, I might not need your book, but I know somebody else that does.
Here's a copy, yeah.
Yeah. So I travel with them wherever
One
I
of the
go.
things you talk about, the holidays are coming up. You talk about 3 things to avoid that cause problems during the holidays. What are those 3 things? These are tips for you at home. Probably tips for me too. So, okay, what are the 3 things you should avoid over the holidays?
You should make sure you have full communication. You should make sure, because if your spouse, if your significant other, or your children don't know what you want, then how are we supposed to keep that excitement? I know some people also, they don't feel the best during a holiday because they're alone, but you still have yourself. So to me, living in joy is doing the inner work. And that's not always that easy. So that's what I help people step through. Mm-hmm. So doing your inner work, communicate, and celebrating yourself. Because when we celebrate ourselves on whatever it is, just if getting out of bed is a tough thing for you, celebrate yourself. So that way, when you celebrate yourself, then the holidays, you can be more celebratory during the holidays. The more you celebrate yourself, the more you celebrate who you are, what you've created, what you're doing, even just looking in the mirror at yourself and say, I celebrate you, and put your name in there.
How fun is that? Well, you hold your book up right there. Tammy, thanks for being with us on the program. You can go to Amazon, pick up your book.
Yes.
There's some local places as well if you want to do that, but Amazon's a good spot to do that. If you want to find out more, your website again is?
transformintojoy.com.
There you go. Hope you have a chance to look that up. Tammy, thanks for being on our program today.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks for the great things you're doing, not only with the books, but the people you work with.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Tammy Lee Schumacher is our guest on the forum. It's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.